everyone, my name is Lena and welcome back to another weekly video. This week's topic is nutrition for chronic conditions. Now, most of us will know what nutrition is, but some of us, a small percentage of us, may not know what chronic conditions are. Well, a chronic condition is basically like a condition, a disease, or an illness that typically lasts for a long time, and it is not completely curable, but it can be managed so that it won't be worse, so it won't spread to other areas or it won't worsen over time. So that is nutrition for chronic conditions. Now, what am I going to talk about exactly in this video? Well, in this video, I'll be talking about three main parts. The first one is the diets for specific conditions, for example, heart disease or heart complications. There's also diabetes and kidney diseases. Diets that are helpful to these chronic conditions. I'll also be adding a part where I'll be talking about meal planning and portion control, and finally I'll be informing on how to read a nutrition label. So without further ado, let's get started on my first part, which is diets for chronic conditions. Now, there are a lot of chronic conditions out there, but I'm going to focus on three main diets for chronic conditions. The diets include heart-healthy diet, diabetic-friendly diet, and also kidney-friendly diet. So, firstly, heart-healthy diet. Now, the heart is a really essential part of our body, so we need to take care of it. So, what foods exactly can we eat in order to help our heart? Well, firstly is heart-safe fats and snacks, for example, walnuts, almonds, or olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. There's also lean and omega-3 rich proteins. For example, we can eat like fatty fish like salmon, or skinless poultry like skinless chicken, and also some tofu. So those are some lean omega-3 rich proteins. There's also antioxidant rich foods and vegetables. For example, you can eat leafy greens, for example, spinach and kale, or tomatoes, avocados, berries, etc. And finally, the last group that we can eat is cholesterol-lowering whole grains. So for example, oats, barley, brown rice, quinoa, and whole wheat pasta. So those are some of the things that we can eat when we want to have a heart-healthy diet. And so some things to avoid is white breads, white pasta, sugary cereals, and pastries. There's also some things that we need to avoid in the veggies and the fruits part, even though it is good for our health, overall health, but there are some types of things that we need to avoid, like fried vegetables, fruits packed in heavy sugar syrup, and other added sugars, some like fruits and vegetables with added sugars that are pre-packaged. So those are things to avoid. Moving on is the diabetic-friendly diet. So, for people who have diabetes, I know that some people who have diabetes have a hard time keeping track of what they need to eat, and sometimes they don't know whether they should eat this or not. And it's very hard to keep track because some members of my family have diabetes as well. So, some like foods that we need to eat, or some foods that is healthy and friendly for diabetes, is lean proteins and plant-based proteins, for example tofu, chicken, fish, eggs, and those like some of the things that are like not like fried meats or meats that are pre-packaged and we just need to fry them or cook them. So some things to eat are eggs, fish, chicken, and tofu. Next, blood sugar safe snacks, for example almonds, Greek yogurt, so no flavor for the yogurt, it's just plain Greek yogurt. There's also some chia seeds that we can eat, and some of the snacks that we can eat when we have diabetes. And in addition, there's also low glycemic index foods and fruits and vegetables like berries, leafy greens, broccoli, etc. And finally is the slow digesting grains like wild or brown rice. We can eat again oats and barley and quinoa as well. And finally, for the kidney-friendly diet. So for the kidney-friendly diet, we need to eat like potassium. We need to eat potassium-low fruits and vegetables like berries, garlic, onions. We can use garlic and onions for flavoring if we want, and also some apples and grapes as well. As for the proteins, we need to eat high-quality proteins. For example, we can eat egg white, skinless chicken or skinless turkey, and poultry. And there's also some fresh fish that we can eat as well. There's also kidney-safe grains and carbohydrates like white rice. We usually eat white rice, pasta, and also some air-fried popcorn. So no added like butter or sugars in that popcorn. So those are some of the grains, some snacks that we can eat as well. And finally, for the kidney-friendly section, we have low phosphorus dairy alternatives like macadamia nuts, any types of nuts, but especially macadamia nuts, and also some rice milk. So yeah, those are some of the things that we can eat if we have that chronic condition. So those are some diabetic-friendly, heart-healthy, and kidney-friendly foods or diets. Moving on is the second part. The second part is meal planning and portion control. So this is very important even as for people like us who don't have any chronic conditions whatsoever, but it is especially helpful for people who have diabetes and other conditions that they need to look after their meals and also the food that they consume. So firstly, as you can see on the board here, I have like an image of a balanced plate. So what a balanced normal plate for a normal person, we can eat like a fourth carbs. 1/4 of the plate must be carbs, for example, rice or bread or pasta or fries. There's also some proteins. For example, we have shrimp here, some meat, some eggs, and some poultry as well. And finally, the salad, the vegetables, the fruits, all of those goodies, we need to have a half of them. So 1/2 of the plate must be salad, vegetables, and fruit. And also, we can add like a little portion of fat or oil as part of cooking or added at the table. So here I also have an image. I don't know. So if you can see that, this is another image of a plate. As you can see here, we have like 1/4 of carbohydrates. We have some proteins here and some salads, some fruits and vegetables. So you can look at this description here if you want. And so those are some things to keep in mind. That is just an overall image of what a balanced plate looks like. So yeah, that is for the balanced plate part. As for the portion control, so basically when we are eating, like for a normal person, protein must be like a palm of your hand, from ranging between 3 to 4 ounces. This could be meat, fish, or tofu. I've said that in the diet. There's also some vegetables and some fruits, which is 2 hands cupped together. So 2 hands cupped together is the amount of vegetables or fruits that we need to eat at the table. And also, we also need to have 1 closed fist of carbohydrates, for example, 1 closed fist of rice or pasta or bread, things like that. And fats must be the tip of our thumb, so just a little bit of fat, because too much fat is not healthy. And finally, is eating from smaller plates will help us to automatically help us to lower the amount of servings, the amount of food that we take in. And for some meal planning tips, firstly, write a weekly menu. So, for example, pick some recipes for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and then prepare them before going to the store. Prepare the list before going to the store and buy those. So at that time, you don't need to think of when you will go to the grocery store each day. So that is writing a weekly menu. There's also buying whole foods. For example, some whole foods, vegetables that are not processed, nothing is processed. So meats, we need to buy them fresh, some fresh meats, some fresh foods, and then we will need to cook them ourselves. So don't buy things that are processed or ultra processed foods. And finally is preparing ahead. So prep ahead by cooking, dividing foods into little organizers and containers, so that when we are cooking, we can just pick them right out of the container and we don't have to go wash them, or we don't have to sort them. So right when you get those groceries, you will need to put them in containers so that it is organized. So those are some meal planning tips. And finally is the nutrition label. So some key parts to look for in a nutrition label is the serving size, the calories, the percent daily value, the nutrients to limit, and the nutrients to get more of. And finally, we need to look at the ingredient list. So on the board here, I have two nutrition labels. So if you can see it, these are some of the things that we need to look for. Firstly is the serving size. So serving size, you can look here or on this piece of paper here. This is 2 2/3 of a cup. This is 1 cup, and we can look at the number next to it, which is 227 grams, or this is 55 grams. So we can eat them accordingly to our doctor's commands. And that is the first thing we need to look for, which is serving size. The next one is calories. So amounts per serving, for example, this one is 280 calories per serving, and then the amounts of serving, we can just multiply them, and then we will get the amount of calories in that whole product. And then there's also percent daily value. So this part here is the daily value for all of the things that are included here, and also some nutrients to limit. So what are some nutrients to limit? Well, saturated fats, for example, cholesterol, sodium, and carbohydrates. Those are some things that we need to limit. And so because those are not good for us if we consume them in large amounts. And nutrients to get more of, so choose higher values like dietary fiber. You can look at these blue parts here. Those are some things that we need to get enough of. And the red ones are things that we need to limit. So basically we have we have dietary fiber, protein, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. And next to those are some percentages that we need to eat every day. So the percentage of what we need to eat every day. And yeah, if it also has an ingredient list, then we can check that out to see if there is anything that we are allergic to, or if there is anything that we need to look out before eating them. So yeah, those are some of the things to look for when reading a nutrition label. So those are all the parts that I basically have in this video. If you have any things that you want to ask me on, or if there's something that you don't understand, then you can put them in the comments below. Thank you again for listening to my video, and to wrap this video up, I have a quote. The doctor of the future will no longer treat the human frame with drugs, but rather will cure and prevent disease with nutrition. Thomas Edison. So thank you again for listening to my video, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Goodbye!